Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming for the first talk as part of our Internship 101 series, The Art of Getting a Research Internship. I'm Nimisha, I'm one of your speakers for today, and the other speaker is Bharath Vishal. So, as part of the talk for today, there are a few key things we're going to address. First of all, why a person needs to do a research internship, what kind of internships to apply to, how to go about applying to them, and the different ways you can get a research internship as well. Basically, we'll talk about cold mailing and how that can help you land a research internship as well. So let's just dive right in. If you guys have any questions, feel free to either post them in the chat box and the other speaker will answer those queries, or just wait till the end when we can have a question answer session. So when it comes to why a person has to do a research internship, most people just say, it looks valuable on your resume and all that. And well, yes, it does. But beyond that, it gives you hands-on experience to work on things that actually interest you. And it gives you a lot of insight into the domain that you end up working on. You might, be so interested by it that you'll want to make that your domain. Or you might find out that it's not your cup of tea, which is good as well, because it's better to find out that you don't like something now rather than later in life. It also gives you insight into academia as a profession. You get to work in a laboratory with professors, PhD students, postdoc researchers, other interns. And so if you have ideas of doing a PhD or becoming a professor at some point in your lives, then doing a research internship is like a little teaser for what kind of life awaits you there. And it's a beautiful opportunity to make lasting connections. It's like an amazing networking opportunity, because not only are you meeting other people, but you're meeting people that are in the same domain as you, so that could really help out in the future. And if you have plans of doing a master's or a PhD at any point in your life, then having at least one research internship experience on your profile will let the admission committee know that you know what research is about, and it will help boost your application quite significantly. So I would say that it's really important to have at least one such internship on your profile. So once you've decided to do a research internship, the question is, where do you apply, right? What internship should you try out for? And most people will just end up going to Google and searching for internships that they can apply to. But uh, I would say that's working from the back. First, you need to identify what interests you. Now, I'm not saying that you need to come up with like a problem statement or like a very niche topic area that you're interested in, that you want to work on, but at least narrow it down to like a wide domain. Say that you want to work on machine learning or robotics or internet of things, whatever it is that interests you, but narrow it down to one or two domains. I know that in the beginning everything seems interesting, but you can't make a successful application in every single domain. So when you when you narrow it down a little bit, it will help you focus your application, and it will help you stand out as well. Next, now there are four main pillars to each application, and that's your transcripts, your resume, your letters of recommendation, and a write up on your research interests. Now, this write up is not always required, but it is like a popular ask. Your transcripts are basically just your grade sheets, your semester wide grade sheets that you can get from the exam cell of your college. When I know that sometimes we only become aware of like an internship in the last minute, but try to just collect your transcripts beforehand, because sometimes there's delays in getting them. And the reason you couldn't apply to an internship shouldn't be because you don't have your transcripts. Since they're not intern specific, I would advise you to just collect it and keep it with you. No harm done, right? For the rest, we will look into it in detail. So your resume. What is a resume? It's basically just a document that talks about your credentials, your education, your work experience, your the positions of responsibilities you've held, your extracurricular activities, your projects. Uh, all of this is going to be on your resume. But when you're drafting your resume, keep in mind that you need to keep it really simple. Don't provide a lot of details. Don't write paragraphs about your project. Keep it short, keep it concise. The maximum length that I would recommend you guys have would be only 2 pages. Going beyond that, and I don't think any recruiter is going to really go through that much information. So make sure it's less than 2 pages or 2 pages exactly, and don't repeat the information that you're providing on your resume. When I've edited and reviewed some of like my juniors resumes, I've noticed that a lot of the times they keep repeating information. So you might have a section called achievements, and they'll list the achievement there, but they'll also list it somewhere else, like underneath the project or something. So don't do that. You only have 2 pages to talk about everything you want to convey to the recruiter or the admission committee, and you need to fully utilize the space that's available to you, and you're just losing out by repeating information. Also, it becomes redundant in their minds and they might just lose interest. So keep it crisp, keep it concise, and don't repeat. What I mean by prioritize is that I know that as you're starting out, you'll do like a variety of things. For example, I'm very interested in robotics, but during my second and third sem, I took like a short detour and started learning about app development and did a few projects on that and went to a couple of hackathons as well. But when it comes to drafting your resume, it is good to show that you have experience in like a slightly unrelated domain, but try to prioritize the relevant projects in front. So overall, you should try to maintain a level of chronology. Don't like with your most recent projects first and like your older projects later, but do try to prioritize it so you know what domain you're applying to, right? So if you have anything that's relevant to that domain, try to make sure that comes up first, so it catches the recruiter's eyes. And there are a lot of resume editors available online that you can use to generate your resumes, but there's something specific called a latex editor, and these will really help you get like a very professional looking resume. They're a bit complicated to use, but trust me when I say it's a skill that's worth learning. If you ask me for my preference, I use Overleaf. That's a free website you can use to do it, and it has a lot of pre-available templates that you can just edit with your own information. In fact, latex editors are used to even like write your academic papers and all that, so it's definitely worth learning. A lot of people, especially on LinkedIn, will talk about having very creative resume templates. And while that has proven to be quite useful in like your job hunt process, I think the general agreement is that for like an internship or like a master's application, that's kind of unnecessary. So you might not want to go for like the fancy templates and just go for like one of your simple standard templates. You don't want to inadvertently harm your chances. The next thing that we need to focus on is the letter of recommendation. Now, a very common misconception when it comes to your letters of recommendation is that you need to get it from like the principal or the head of your department or something like that, because the name, the tag that they're the principal and their HOD will give like a weightage to like the amount of value people place on the letter of recommendation. While that might be true, I think it's more important that you approach the right people. The thing is, while the HOD might actually agree to give you a letter of recommendation, what they can write about you in the letter can be a bit limited, because in most cases they don't actually like take class for you or like supervise a project or something. And so like the amount of content that they can write about you, that will be quite valuable in terms of how the admission committee might evaluate your profile, will be quite limited. So it's more important to get an LOR from somebody that you actually have like a good rapport with. It doesn't matter if they're like an assistant prof or an associate prof, as long as they can write and give valuable insight about you as a student, as a researcher, that makes a lot more difference. And when starting out, it can be a bit confusing as to how to go about writing your letter, because in a lot of cases we the students are asked to draft the letters on behalf of our professors, and that's okay. But you can start out by reading some templates online. A lot of universities actually post guides on how to write a good letter of recommendation, so you can go through that. But make sure you never plagiarize from it. Don't copy even like a single line from an online template, because that will honestly just backfire. Use that to just understand what kind of content goes into a letter. of recommendation and just incorporate the ideas that they mention in the templates. The most important thing you have to do is personalize and prove what's being said. So, what does that mean exactly? Now, anyone can just write on a letter that you're hardworking and that you're intelligent and that you're smart and that you're like one of the best students that they've taught or whatever. But that doesn't show the reader that you have those qualities. So quantify these statements with some examples. Maybe talk about how you were always one of the first people to finish off your assignments. You scored some of the highest marks in the class. You ask insightful questions. And like give an example maybe, or maybe you approach them about doing some project, or given an assignment, you went out of your way to like learn more things about it. Give like an example or a situation, something like this, to just prove the statements that they're making, because that will actually help make the incident stick in the mind of the reader, and they'll actually remember that, oh yeah, wait, this kid, she did something right. It makes you easier to remember, and it also makes your letter of recommendation a very strong one. So instead of just saying a bunch of things about you, make sure you try and prove them. Now, you don't have to prove every single thing, but having like 2 or 3 examples like the ones that I said will really help improve the quality of your letter of recommendation. So there are a few internships that we've decided to like talk about in detail that are open now, which you can actively go and apply to. The first one that we're going to talk about today is the NTU's research internship. NTU is Nanyang Technological University in Singapore. Now the applications start on the 1st of November, so they've been open for 12 days already. But the deadline is only in the 31st of December, so you guys have a lot of time to actually go and apply afterwards, like when you're free. So just make sure you start now. Don't wait until the last minute to do your applications, because trust me when I say I've been doing that quite a bit, and it doesn't always go as smoothly. Start beforehand so that you can have all the documents ready, and make sure you have enough time to like review everything you've prepared, and make sure there's no mistakes. So to avoid a lot of hurry, don't procrastinate this. So typically the results are announced in like February or March of the next year. So for you guys in 2022. Now, when I applied, it was announced in like April because of COVID, but hopefully that will not be an issue for you guys. And the dates, they on the website they mentioned something along the lines of 10th May to 23rd July, basically an 8-week internship, but that's not always the case. You can email the officials after you've got the selection and just say that you have your semester exam or whatever it is, and you can have it moved. Now, for me, this was a remote internship experience, but for you guys, ideally, you should have the chance to visit the campus. And the thing to note about this internship in particular is that it's not fully funded, so you will have to pay for your airfare and your accommodation and all that. They do give you some money. It's like it really depends. So since I didn't have to go, I can't give you the specifics of it, but do keep in mind that you will have to spend a little bit of money if you are applying to this internship. So coming to this application in particular, these are the things that you need. So how this application process works is that on their website, you can see the list of projects that are available for you to work on, and they're organized by department. So just go through each department's link, and you'll be able to see what the professors are offering in terms of projects, and you can also read like a small description about the project, and their email ID will also be provided. And don't dismiss any department, because sometimes even if it's not directly related to your domain, it's still some professor might have posted something. So make sure you go through every single department's available projects, and out of these you will have to select 3 and mention those in your application in terms of your preference, with the first project being the one that you prefer the most. Now, something my seniors have told me about this application is that sometimes you're not always matched with all 3 professors and their projects. You might not be tested with all 3 of them. So make sure your first project is like your best bet. Don't try for like an ambitious thing or something that you have like very less chances of getting because you have like absolutely no relevant project work, coursework, or work experience to it. Like, go for something that you have a little bit on your profile to show about. Obviously, I don't mean that you need to have like a research paper or something, but if you've done like an online course or like maybe a small mini project or something related to that domain, that then go for something like that. Also, their website mentions that you need 2 academic referee letters. Now, don't get confused. This is actually just a letter of recommendation. They just call it that. And then what they call a recommendation letter on their website is actually just like a glorified bona fide certificate that your college has to provide, saying that they're recommending you for this program. Other than this, there's the standard transcripts and resume that's required. And there's something called a checklist. Now, please keep in mind that this checklist is actually something you need to print out, fill in by hand, and attach a passport photograph, and then upload that in their portal. Now, I didn't know this until like 3 hours before my deadline. So I'm making sure you guys know this so you can avoid the chaos that I faced back then. Now, what I'm about to say is solely applicable to the NTU application alone. A lot of these intern applications actually forbid you from contacting the professors until they contact you. So keep in mind, this is only for the NTU application. What you can do to make your application stand out is, you know how in the previous slide I mentioned you need to give 2 letters of recommendation? Ask one more professor who was not one of those 2 to send an email to the professor whose project you've selected. I said the first project is your best bet, right? So to that professor, send like an unofficial email from the professor you've contacted, and it should just be like a like maybe like a paragraph sized letter of recommendation just in the email. It's not like a proper letter of recommendation per se, but just an email singing your praises, but keep it realistic. And the committee actually does take this into consideration. I had my mentor do this for me, and he did get a reply from both the professor and the India Connect at NTU officials reply to him saying that they will consider this. So this can definitely help you guys. The next internship that we're going to be talking about is the Indian Academy of Sciences summer research internship. Now, this involves a lot of the IISCs, the IIITs, and like other miscellaneous universities. This began a little bit earlier, but the deadline is 30th November. That gives you guys around 20 days to finish off the application, which is like sufficient time to do it if you start now. This is a bit different from NTU in the sense that you do not have to select your projects. You remember in the list of things that you require in general, I mentioned that you'll have to give a write-up about your research interest, right? This internship requires 3 write-ups, in fact. One about what you're interested in. For this one, I recommend going through the list of professors that are participating in this season of the research internship. All this information is available on their website. So when you see which professors are there, you'll also get to see the projects they're working on and the domains that and their domains. So based on like a keyword search, you can identify some professors and see what they're working on. Do a little bit of research, maybe skim a few papers or something, just get an idea of what they're working on, and then tailor your write-up to align with that. So if you're interested in machine learning, don't just say you're interested in machine learning. If you've seen some professor working in some niche domain, then go for it. Just say, this is something I'm very interested in. There's higher chances you'll get matched with them. Then there's also a write-up about your extracurricular activities and your projects and any relevant work experience. Here, it doesn't have to be strictly relevant, but as much as possible, keep it related to the wide domains that you are applying to. Again, in your technical interest, you don't have to be super specific. You can make it a bit generic, but just make sure that the things you're saying are actually something that professors there are working on. So that's pretty much it about the IIS application. It's a pretty straightforward one. Yeah, so we'll give you the links for all of these at the end of the talk. Next.
So this is Bharath and I'll be covering few international internships and cold mailing. So RISS stands for Robotics Institute Summer Scholars, which is a research and internship program conducted by the Carnegie Mellon University. To give you some background, Carnegie Mellon University is a top ranked university for computer science, artificial intelligence, and robotics. Please note that the competition is really fierce for this program, and somewhere around only 35 people around the world are selected for this internship program. I'm not trying to scare you guys, but knowing these facts should be helpful. So, coming back, applications for 2022 have opened, and the deadline for the applications is Jan 15. The RISS program runs from June 1 to August 5. So for a successful application, first go to the RISS research showcase on the RISS website and check out the research projects. Then it's time to see what interests you and find the professors which have a common research interest as you. So it's advisable to watch previous research scholars videos and read related research papers from the RISS working journals. To get a better idea, there are virtual information sessions conducted by CMU, which will have queries answered by previous RISS scholars. So please check them out. Moving on to the next slide. The RISS application includes resume, which should showcase the projects and skills developed by you. Transcripts, please make sure you get it quite early from our college, or they're gonna really delay it. And letter of recommendation, as suggested by Nimisha, it is good to get a personalized LOR from one of the profs that know you well. RISS applications require two strongly worded LORs, and statement of purpose is the most important part of the RISS application, where you'll have to give a meaningful SOP with clear goals, specifying your areas of interest and why you want to get into that particular robotics lab. So moving on to the next slide. There are a few other great international internship opportunities, which include the DART Visa, which is a merit-based scholarship program which helps international students get financial aid in order to pursue research internships at Germany. Charpak, I will explain in detail in the later slides. CERN is as you know, is the European Organization for Nuclear Research Programs, and it conducts a fully funded internship program in Switzerland. USC Viterbi is a internship program conducted by the University of Southern California. MyTax is a really popular and competitive research internship program at Canadian universities. You guys have to definitely check this out if you're juniors. Adobe Women in Tech Scholarship is a program for women where if you get selected, Adobe funds the college tuition fees of the recipient and provides them with summer internships at Adobe India. So moving on to the next slide. Capgemini offers a 6-month unpaid healthcare internship program from July to December. And personally, I got into this internship, and what I did was I proposed an idea in my area of interest, which is machine learning, and I gave a really crisp proposal for a project, and recruiters liked the idea. So they got back for round two, which is presenting your idea and explaining how you will deliver the project and what you will be delivering in the end. So the departments which are allowed to participate for this internship drive are biomedical engineering, mechanical engineering, CSE, and EC. So moving on to the next slide. So there are different domains in which the students can intern at Capgemini. I'm currently working on deep learning based 3D medical image segmentation. So moving on to cold mailing. So for those who don't know what a cold mail is, it's an email sent to the receiver without any prior information or contact. So beyond the applications which we saw, another way to get internships is by cold mailing. So First, you need to prepare a list of profs with a common interest as you and skim through their work, read their research papers, and jot down a list. Then start cold mailing them. So we'll look at few factors which help improve cold mailing. So first would be to tailor the message to the recipient. For example, if you're cold mailing for a research internship, the content of the email should have your research work in the area that the professor has been working on, few references of the professor's papers, research work to show that you have done your background work on the professor. Secondly, you need to talk good stuff about yourself, or to put it in better terms, demonstrate that you have skills and you are willing to learn and upskill yourself. Thirdly, professors get a lot of emails, so be crisp and make sure your email is something that the professor is looking for. So again, keep it crisp and simple. Be appreciative of their work, and this could show that you are willing to work under them. So moving on to the next slide, I'll be showing you two cold email templates. And it is not at all advisable to directly copy from these templates, rather come up with your own cold mail templates, which is the best way to do it. So here the applicant seems to be interested in medicine, healthcare, and machine learning and AI. So looking at the right things this applicant has done is mentioning his career plans and why he's interested and how he got interested in the subject. I would also add more references of the professor's work to show the background work he has done. And in the end, we need to attach our CV or resume to validate ourselves. Moving on to the next template. So which this template is for industrial internships, and the applicant specifies the coursework he has done that is relevant to the internship. He explains why he's interested in the firm and what research the firm has done. You'll have to personalize the email to show that you're genuinely interested. And so yeah, so moving on to the next slide. So these are a few tips for cold mailing, and so there is a Google Chrome add-on called Streak, which can help you track your emails, where you can see whether the recipient has opened the email or not. And there are a few points which are gathered from personal experiences. So try sending the email in the morning. It won't be buried in the bunch of emails the professors receive. So emails will be marked as spam when you send too many emails to the professors of the same institute in the same day. So some people like Nimisha say that you shouldn't add files as an attachment in the email as it may be classified as spam. So add your resume as a drive link to mention that it is the resume. So moving on to Charpak. These are few links to Coldmail. So Charpak is a research internship program for Indian students at France for a maximum of 2 months from May to July. So the applicants have to cold mail the professors, get acceptance from the French universities or labs, then they have to fill the application for Charpak scholarship program. So moving on to the application, Charpak application. So the students need to submit a scanned copy of the first page of your passport, curriculum vitae, the scanned copy of your acceptance letter from your French university, which you receive by cold mailing them, the scanned copies of mark sheets of a 12th standard, and a no objection certificate from your Indian institution. A recommendation letter from the university should support the application, but it's not mandatory. So moving on to the Charpak timeline. So the application starts around mid-December, and the application ends around mid-February. The results are declared by the end of March. So yeah, these are quick links which could help you in your internship hunt. So yeah, we are done.
Share the PPT with you guys by email so that you can access all the links we've added. So the final link is actually a GitHub repository which contains a list of international and Indian internships that people can apply to. So go through each website and see if there's like a domain that interests you. See if it's available in that internship, and just keep an eye out for deadlines because they'll honestly just sneak up on you. Maybe like maintain a sheet or something with all the relevant deadlines so you don't miss out on an opportunity because you applied too late. So if you guys have any questions for either of us, like either unmute and ask us or post it on the chat box and we'll answer the question. Okay, so Badri is asking which year can students start applying for internships. So generally, there's no limit. A common trend that I've noticed in people is that usually they go for like an industry internship after their second year and a research internship after their third year, just because it helps them specialize more. But there's no such restriction. Just make sure that when you come across a potential internship that you can apply to, a lot of times they will mention beforehand like what year the student should be in. For example, my taxonomy expects you to be in your third year, so just make sure that you are eligible to apply for the internship. Supraja is saying, as a second year, I don't have completed projects. Oh, that's okay. You don't have to have completed research projects. You can definitely mention that they're ongoing ones. That's what we all did. So you can definitely still apply to internships. Not at all a problem. Just in your resume, when you mention your project description, mention that, mention the start date and say it's an ongoing project. That's all. It doesn't matter. Uh, in your first year, it's definitely a bit difficult. I won't say impossible because you do see these things happening. It is a bit difficult, but maybe in your first year, try to uh, first figure out which domains interest you. Just do projects on your own and see what you're interested in. Online courses, they don't count as an intern as an experience per se, but it does show that you're interested in that domain, so definitely do them. But uh, beyond your online courses, make sure you're doing like at least small level projects that you can, to show that you're doing something about your interest. About quantum mechanics, I personally have no idea. Sorry. But I most of the internships that we've spoken about are usually like very general and very consist of like a lot of wide domains. So just go through it and see if there's like a professor who's interested in this. Uh, about the resume, we do actually have a resume building workshop coming up. So do join that talk to get more insight into how to generate your resume. We will be having that in like a week or two. How many number of, oh wait, sorry, I missed the question. Apart from research internships in abroad, so things like graphic design and UX design, I'm assuming you'll have to go for like companies, right? So you can try out the cold emailing strategies that Bharath was talking about. Beyond that, I think if you can just start looking for companies that have such roles and email them on your own accord. LinkedIn can also help you find some opportunities. Number of projects, honestly, there's no minimum number of projects. Just have a good one, have a good few. This maybe like two or three would be nice, but whatever project it is you're listing, make sure that it's like, a worthwhile project. Don't just connect like a LED to an Arduino and then call that a project, right? Make it a little bit innovative so that it stands out. Outside our respective, so the question is, do we also include projects outside our respective field which may still have connection to the course we want to intern in? Yes, you definitely should. Even if it doesn't have a direct connection to the domain that you want to intern in, it will still be a good idea to put it on your resume because it shows that, when you're interested in something, you go out and do it. So as I said, I did both my internships in robotics, but I have some experience with app development and I did list them on my resume. It shows that, that I have some interests and that I work upon them. For gaining knowledge of these internships, should college syllabus be enough or we have to learn more? I would definitely say you need to learn more. Unfortunately, that's the real truth. You do need to go out there and see what you like and do something about it. You can't rely on the college to be your sole source of information. For example, like I'm interested in a domain called computer vision, and I'm doing that now in my seventh semester. So if you wait until your seventh semester to see if you like that subject, then you're going to miss out on all these opportunities. So you need to do a lot of work on your own and see what's interesting. In case of electrical side, it's a bit tough to find a research internship. Any tips? That is true. It is a bit difficult, but as I said, most of these internship applications are quite general in nature, in the sense that they cover a wide range of domains. So you can try them out. And in your case, I think cold emailing will be a really beneficial tactic for you. So you can, for example, just go through the websites of like a couple of IITs and see if you can find any professors that work in like in the electrical side. I'm sure there'll be quite a few of them, and you can just cold email them, just send them an email saying you're interested in working with them and what projects in particular you're interested in. If you do that, then I'm sure you can get something. In fact, a lot of the IITs actually have their own summer research intern applications, so you can do that as well. um, Co-writing a research paper with the IT department at SSN. Will that be an upper hand while I cold email some people I might be interested in working in? Yeah, that could definitely help if you are like going for something that's related to IT. But even otherwise, the fact that you have a research paper will definitely reflect well upon your application. CERN, if you just Google research internship at CERN, you will find their website with, and it's really well detailed. Yeah, but do keep in mind that it's really highly competitive. I'm
Arthur,
not
BI
really
में हाँ एडिशनल साइंस कोड कराते हैं.
sorry.
The deadline for CERN is so the deadline for CERN as for 2020 is over. So 2022 is over. So you should like try next year. The deadline is somewhere around October.
Okay, so the next question is, will the internships be department restricted? One who doesn't belong to CS or IT department can still apply for tech internships. By tech internship, I'm assuming you mean, oh, like in the CS or IT departments. You definitely can. To increase your chances of getting such an internship, I would suggest you do uh, more projects to show that you're willing to put in the effort to learn the CS and IT subjects. And if you're interested in coding, then you're getting onto some competitive coding websites like Lead Code, Hanker Rank, and all that will help boost your profile as well. The next question is, should we go for unpaid internships if we get the chance? Now, this is like a subject of debate. If you ask for my personal opinion, I would say it depends on the quality of the internship being offered. So first of all, don't go for internships that you have to pay for. A lot of these places like Smart Knower and okay, there's a bunch of things that will come up. It's not always a good idea to go for them. They're more like courses with like a project than like an internship. It's more like a training. Keep that in mind. For unpaid internships, for example, the NTU internship that I took part in was actually unpaid, but it's NTU, right? That suggests like a certain level of quality. So if it's of like a good university or like a really good company, then I would say you can think about doing it. But if it's not, then it's really your choice. A lot of startups will actually be unpaid internships, but they will be really interesting. You learn a lot, so it's definitely your call to make. But I would say at least avoid the ones that you have to pay for. Can an IT student do an internship related to a domain unrelated to IT, like energy engineering? As mentioned before, you can definitely go for internships that are not strictly relevant to the field of study you're a part of. but you do have to put in a bit more of effort in your application and make your profile a bit stronger, because if they're going to choose between like a person who's studying that and a person who's not, then you need to show that you're equivalent to them, if not better than them. So for that, you need to do a lot of projects and really strengthen your profile, show that you're skilled. How to write an SOP and why is it so important? An SOP is actually something that's associated with like your master's application more than your internship application. But in general, like considering that some of these places also ask for something like an SOP, the best advice that I've gotten from my seniors is that you need to weave a story. Like instead of just listing your achievements and using your SOP as like a extra long version of your resume, uh, tell a story, tell your story about how you developed an interest in subjects, and why you're doing what you're doing, and like what you learned from your projects, instead of just saying what you did in them, things like that. And as to why it's so important, well, can't really answer that, but unfortunately or fortunately, it is like a very important part of your application. I think it's because it gives like a good insight into who you are as a person, so the admission committee can really evaluate your the quality of your candidacy for the program.
For mechanical department, what internships and what projects should be done? I think the CERN internship is for mostly mechanical department, and what project should be done, I'm not really sure. I think you should go contact your professors. So moving on, do we cold mail professors under the field we are interested in, and will they respond? How do we ensure we are approaching the right professors? So you'll have to take a look at what work the professor has done, what area of interest the professor has published papers in. So if you skim through or read through them, I think you'll find which field the professor is working on. So you can make a list of the professors and start cold mailing them. What would be the reply rate while cold mailing IIT professors? So yeah, the reply rate is actually really low. So so according to what I heard, I think for 100 emails, I think for 3 emails you might get replies 3 to 4. So you gotta keep trying. It's just until you're lucky enough. So how
But
to
at the same time, don't let these numbers discourage you. There are quite a few people that we personally know who have gotten internships by cold emailing them. So definitely keep trying. Just don't be discouraged if you don't get replies from like a lot of people.
yeah, how to find projects? You can check any hackathon websites where the domain which you like, and you can try looking at projects. So I think web is the way to find projects. Do these research internships give you an upper hand during placement season, like getting hired by FANG companies, or is it only going to catalyst the research spectrum of the career? I think research internships are mostly done to improve your profile for masters or graduate programs. But they should also be helpful for the placement season, because something is better than nothing. So that way it should be more helpful.
And also, it gives like an interesting thing to talk about during your interviews. While it might not help you crack the initial rounds that you have to clear, like the exams and like the technical round, or it will, like the skills you develop and the knowledge you gain will help you out during the the interview rounds where you have like a technical or a HR round. In that place, it will help you. Also, to double back on the question on how to find projects, one way that we do it is like this I'm sure you guys must have heard of the Smart India Hackathon. It's like a really big hackathon with a lot of problem statements posted. So you can actually just go through the problem statements of like the past couple of years. You can search using keywords and find problem statements that interest you. And after doing like a initial literature survey or something, I'm sure you'll be able to find something to do. Now, all projects don't have to be completely innovative. Like even doing existing, just reproducing existing research itself does definitely count as a project. So don't be intimidated and think that every single project has to be some extremely like innovative work to do. Other than that, if you do like approach your faculty and all, I'm sure they'll be able to guide you as well. You can also talk to seniors who are working in a related domain, and they can give you some ideas as well.
Yeah. So can we apply for research internships even after getting a job? So if you're talking about the placements, yeah, I think you can apply to research internships even after getting placed. So how important is machine learning for an EC student? What is the scope for internships in this domain? Or is IoT more suited for EC students? So importance of machine learning, I could say the scope of internships in this domain is quite high because of the demand. And but IoT should be more suited for EC students because of the concepts, and IoT should be more suited.
You
Any
do see a lot of people going into the machine learning domain. So if that is what you're interested in, it's not impossible for like an EC student to do it. A lot of people in the EC department do take up machine learning as one of its sister branches. So whichever it is you're interested in, it's definitely possible.
Yeah. Any idea on doing an internship at ETH Zurich? I'm not quite sure about that. Nimisha, do you want to answer that question?
Well, ETH Zurich, I do know that they have an application for graduate students. I don't think they have an internship program for undergraduate ones. I will have to check on that. But something to keep in mind is that ETH Zurich is one of the highest ranked universities in the world. So if there is something, just go for it. I think you can also try cold emailing some of the professors there. I cannot guarantee a reply, but who knows, right? What do you mean by doing projects? Can you give examples from your work? Well, mini projects can be anything. When you're learning about a topic, say anything really. So you learn about a topic. What can you do about that, right? Like some kind of practical implementation of it, or just you could even just like follow like tutorials online or something. Just some way of upskilling yourself. So those will be like the mini projects. Big projects would maybe our college has something called an internally funded student project where they give us money to actually get hardware and things like that. Those ones are a little bit more innovative in terms of like what you try to achieve in the project. And yes, that's basically it. Also, coming back to the question about the suitability of machine learning in EC, one thing to notice is that machine learning on its own is not as big as a domain as machine learning applications in other domains. Machine learning is used in a lot of different domains, almost in like every single one at this point. So for EC students, it's used in combination with IoT, in communications, and all of that. In fact, a lot of our final year projects are related to machine learning applications in EC related domains. So that's also something interesting. Are there any more questions? I think we've gone through most of them. Okay, we have one more question. Is it required to have knowledge of foreign language while applying to European universities? Now, if you're applying to like a master's program, then yes, you will. You might need to. It'll be mentioned in the course requirements. They'll mention if they want language certification, and they will mention up until like what level they expect. For an internship, that's not really required, especially if you're cold mailing professors. Uh, do note that while programs like DART and Charpak, they involve you cold emailing professors and getting like an acceptance, and they will fund their travel. Now when you're just cold mailing professors on your own, not every professor will actually have the budget to fly you out and like pay for your accommodation and all that. So sometimes you will have to incur those expenses. Make sure you're ready to do that when you're applying for universities. So once you get accepted, if you're not going to be able to make use of that opportunity because it's not financially viable or something, that that won't be like a nice feeling. So make sure that it's something you can you know take care of. So once you have further communication with the professor, you can definitely ask them if they'll be able to fund your stay and all that. Okay, so if there are no more questions, we'll end this talk. We'll send you some links, and we'll email the PPT to you so that you'll be able to access the links that we've talked about. Uh, Aishwarya has posted our social media handles here. There you have links to our Discord server, our LinkedIn, and our Instagram. If you do have further questions, feel free to send a message on any of these platforms and we will answer you guys. Thank you for coming today, and we hope to see you all in future talks that we conduct. Have a nice day, everybody.